What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. I am here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter here in Minnesota, and also I'm in sales and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why of being in their profession and also getting to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's coming on with me today. Her name is Katie Baker. She is a staff writer for The Ringer, The Ringer, different sports stories, inclusive sports stories as well. Prior to that, she was with ESPN. She's been with them for the past 8 years, but she was also with ESPN at the same position, writing for them for 5 years. So we're going to talk to her about her why of getting into sports and also writing, get to know her a little bit outside of her occupation, ask some fun questions, and pretty much break bread with her and learn about her journey and her story. So without any further ado, I introduce to you the wonderful, the talented Katie Baker.
Hi,
Hi, Katie. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so sorry for the delay, both on the day and in the last 10 minutes. I apologize.
It's totally okay. No worries, no problem. You're here with me now. I love seeing your face. I know you've had quite a busy day today. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Well, great to see you as well. Thanks for reaching out, and it's great to talk to you.
Absolutely. I really want to just say thank you for once again coming on my podcast. Let me reiterate to you why I wanted you to come on my Work Hard, Play Harder podcast because I know you're a staff writer for The Ringer. As of now, been that way for the past 8+ years. I know prior to that you was working with ESPN at the same position as a staff writer as well. I'm a sports writer. I've kind of started this late in my life, but I've been doing it for the past 6 years with a combination of being in Atlanta, Georgia, and now in Minnesota, working with a publication and now also doing freelance as well. So I like talking to different people who's in the industry who has an abundance of experience talking about their why they do what they do, and also listening to some stories, also listening to some things outside of the occupation. Because I have some fun questions here that get to know you kind of questions. So I'm really interested in hearing about your journey and love talking to likewise people who love writing about sports.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Are you in Minneapolis area or are you elsewhere?
Elsewhere, I'm Southwest, so I'm closer to South Dakota,
Nice.
more so than Minneapolis. But I have done some work up in Minneapolis. I've also done some work in South Dakota as well, as far as freelance work. So I really enjoy it, that aspect of being able to choose what I want to do, but also still maintain my full time job on the side as well. So I love that.
Yeah, that's great. I love that
Okay.
too.
So let me ask you this first question, as I always do with every guest that I have on here, Katie, and that is, what is your why? What is your why of doing what you do? Did you have any inspirations growing up? Any role models that you kind of wanted to have a similar career of? Like, what was your why of getting into sports and getting into writing?
Well, it's funny because when I look back at myself as a kid, you know, there was no need for a why. When you're a kid, you just do what is. And I just was always reading, always writing. I used to write poem,
Yeah,
not even like, when you hear write poems, like they were like very childish poems, but they had these whole rhyme schemes. And I would
hmm,
write these long stories all the time. And, even when I was very young. So that's kind of funny to just look back in hindsight. I think I've always loved reading. And so as an extension, I, have enjoyed writing as well. And so much of it is like derived from reading. And what's funny is that the sports side of it, so much of it is derived not from writing, but from listening to sports radio as a kid. Um,
sure.
I grew up in New Jersey and had sports radio 66 WFAN New York on the radio all the time. And that was in the kind of the late, starting in like the late 90s. And and just was so immersed in New York sports culture through that, and in like, I don't know, different sports voices through that and opinions. And so kind of those two things combined into, and when I was in high school and in college, I did sports writing. And so it kind of went from there.
I like that. I do. I can remember growing up because I grew up in California, San Diego to be exact. My dad and I used to sit in the car and listen to Jim Rome.
Oh, that's
A lot.
great.
He loved Jim Rome, and he would play that on the radio all the time. Now, of course, I was a kid. I was like, "Who is this guy that's always going out?" He always used to say out. Jim Rome. That was like his thing that he loved to, and I was like, I didn't get it. My dad used to do it all the time. I remember also him listening to Mike and the Mad Dog,
Mhm.
which you're probably more familiar with because they're New York. So he used to listen to them as well, listen to him them too as well. So I love the fact that you listen to sports radio. That's pretty cool. I did a
What's
little bit of
crazy is
research.
I remember being on vacation once in literally in Florida, and we could get the signal of WFAN. And this was like before it was like, nationally streaming or whatever. This was like the actual radio tower on like certain, if the wind was just right on certain
Right,
times of the year,
right.
you could get the signal. And yeah, so it was just such, it's so, I hear those sounds and those voices, Mike and the Mad Dog, Sweater and the Schmoozer, Imus in the Morning, problematic favorite, that I didn't even understand the humor. My dad listened every morning. He was kind of my Howard Stern in that sense. So yeah, it's so, it's such a like visceral memory to me. And I really feel like it's such a connection to like the fan, and not just the
Sure,
name of the radio station, but like actual fans.
sure. Absolutely. No question. You chose Yale University, right? Yale University is your alma mater. Tell me, were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to Yale University? You got to have prestigious grades to get in a school like that, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Princeton, New Jersey area. So um but as a result, I never wanted to go to Princeton because I just imagined like running into my mom, on a Saturday afternoon after a football game or something. But I applied. I don't know if they still even have early decision these days, but I applied like early decision and got in, and knew, and I went on sort of a tour of different colleges. And this is like, this sounds like I'm making it up, but one big reason I really liked Yale was we went into one of the dining halls, which was
Mm,
beautiful. And there was a big like kiosk in it that had the Yale Daily News, and it was like a real newspaper. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is every day. And I just couldn't believe what a real newspaper it was. And I worked on the newspaper in high school, and I just thought that was so cool. And it just stuck with me. I'm sure other schools I visited had a newspaper too, but I just didn't happen to see it. But that was like kind of a big thing. And, other things about the tour I liked. And I really enjoyed going there. So many of my best friends, even now, are my friends from college. And it's kind of crazy, but I'm kind of entering the age where a lot of people I went to school with are now like movers and shakers in the world, of sports and business and all these things, in a way that's like really cool, really overwhelming. Can't
mm.
believe it with some people, always knew it with others. So that's been like kind of fun to watch develop.
Absolutely. No question about that. And I totally understand you not wanting to be super close to home. Obviously people get out of high school, they kind of want to branch out a little bit. You don't want to always see the same familiar faces. And if I'm not mistaken, Yale is in the Massachusetts area. Um,
Close.
uh,
It's in Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay,
Right.
Connecticut. Got you. Okay. So yeah, definitely a little further away from New Jersey. That's for
Yes.
sure. Okay, I feel
Far
that.
enough. It was far enough to be far, but easy enough to go home, or have my parents come up or whatever it was. So,
Okay.
I mean, I drove that stretch of 95 so many times, between high school and college, and, be in my 20s, that, that I have all, and then took the New Jersey Transit and the Amtrak and all that, I have all those stops memorized. But
Mm,
yeah, it was nice to, it was a good place to be.
okay, I love that. Now, Katie, I want to ask you some favorite questions. Okay, so you just give me the 411 off the rip based upon these favorite questions I have, and you just let me know. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Favorite meal I like to cook, chili.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Now, is there anything you put in your chili that's special? Because you put
Oh,
cheese in
it's
it, some kind of
funny.
spices in it.
Well, yeah, I put cheese on top, but the recipe, what's kind of funny about the chili is that the recipe was from this website called Rudy Toot. That was an Instant Pot recipes website run by this
Wow.
like old grandmother in Canada.
Okay.
And she built this whole community. She called it her garden, and she called all of the people that read her recipes her flowers. Like, that was what we were dealing with. And she had this recipe for chili. And that's the recipe I used. I guess the only modifications I made is I put a little bit of chocolate powder and a little bit of cinnamon in addition to all the other spices.
Mm.
Which is, probably sounds weird, but or sounds normal to people that do it. But anyway, she sadly passed away, and I wrote about the community that she kind of left behind, and just the legacy that this random woman had created out of nowhere. And it ended up being one of my favorite things I've written. It was just a little kind of memorial to her, this woman who I didn't know, but who I sometimes commented on the page. And anyway, anyway, that's I guess the better story of the recipe than like I haven't it's nothing like particularly exciting, but it's the Rudy Toot chili recipe, and we love it.
Oh, hey, listen, good chili, good hot chili with some crackers, some Ritz crackers is great. That's a great meal for me. I love that. Now, if you could definitely hit me up with that recipe, that'd be amazing. 'Cause I would love to make it on this side of town to be able to have something. That'd be awesome. And I love me some cheese. I can't get enough when I put cheese in my chili. That's just
Lots
me.
of cheese on top. The other thing that the recipe does that I appreciate is it you have like bacon that you have like crispy bacon, you save some of it, you put it on later, yada yada. So
Wow, Katie, you got my mouth watering over here. I like that. That's pretty cool. Okay. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
um man, I think I'm gonna have to go with just recently I went and saw 4 nights of Fish at the Sphere in Las Vegas. And that was just like a crazy and hilarious and awesome and almost hard to explain experience.
Wow. Now, of course, the Spear, because I recently was in Vegas in July. I went attended a conference. I did see the Spear. I didn't have a chance to like go inside or anything, but that's something that's behold. Next time I go there, I'm definitely going to go inside, see, and and just encap all of it. And you know what I mean? Because that's the new venue there that everybody was talking about. Now, I've never heard of the band 4 Nights of Fish. Is that what you said?
So the band is called Fish, and they
Fish.
played
Okay.
4 nights in a row, but each
Okay.
night was totally different, like different
Wow.
songs, different
Okay.
um visuals. So yeah, so it was a crazy environment because they're kind of like they're this band that from sort of the late 80s and through the 90s and today, but that were four friends from Vermont that met in, college and high school age. And
Okay.
kind of hippie and jam band sort of Grateful Dead style. Some people would be upset to have them compared, but that's kind of the classic genre. And yeah, and now they're still rocking better than ever. Still the four of them. And so it was a really fun series of shows, but it was really funny to have the combination of Vegas glitz and the venue being kind of state of the art with the kind of you know like Fish population, many of whom are now getting up there in age, so it's not like not
Right.
everyone's so
Right.
young anymore. But so that was really fun to be a part of. And the music was amazing, the visuals were so cool. It was, I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but it ended up being really fun.
I love that. That's what's up. Okay. Favorite city you've ever traveled to?
Um, Probably, I mean, it depends on the criteria. Like most memorable reporting travel was a few trips I made to Russia back at kind of this was all
COVID.
pre-Ukraine, but still
Okay.
during, but sort of when they kind of leading up to and during the Sochi Olympics, which was at this point 10 years ago. But I went to some towns like Magnitogorsk and Ufa, like these random cities in Russia that
Mm.
I would have had no other reason to go to. But that I'm really glad I saw. And then, I mean, in terms of just like favorite city, period, that I've been, like New York City. I used to live there. There's nothing like it. I miss my friends that are there. So
Sure,
to go
sure.
back. You know, obviously,
Are you in Jersey now?
no. So I now live in California, in Truckee, California, which is kind of like um on the eastern side of the state, close to the
Yeah.
Nevada border.
Oh yeah, that's my hometown state. So yeah, I definitely know
Yeah,
that.
up near like
For
Lake Tahoe area, kind of.
Absolutely. Okay, that's awesome. This really is. This is a two-part question, favorites. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person? Could be the same sport.
Um, Love watching. I mean, like hockey is probably the sport I watch most consistently of all my teams. I watch the Rangers probably the most. Um, I would also say hockey is what I would love to attend live. That said, a good NBA game with like a team coming back, or teams trading points at the end, being there live is like so much fun. The crowd, just that feeling of waiting for the shots to go in and everyone celebrating. So I think I would take like a big, a big Knicks game where the Knicks win, would be my ideal.
Absolutely. I'm a huge, like I said, sports fan. Hockey, I really got into, especially when I was in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I graduated from Kennesaw State University. I was in Atlanta, Georgia years ago, and I was there, and we didn't have a hockey team. If you remember uh, they were called
Thrashers,
the
yeah.
Thrashers. They went to Winnipeg, right? So I would have to go to Nashville, which is the closest hockey team to it, to see the Preds play. And now that I'm up here in Minnesota, I can go see the Wild play. So I love the fact of hockey like that and
Yeah.
watching it, because it's nothing like watching hockey live. On TV, to me, it's a little, but live is different. That puck, they're hitting that glass. I love it so much.
And
Rangers
honestly,
took
where
it.
you are, you could go to like a high school or a college game, and it would be like their high school games is like a Friday Night Lights football game here, down in Texas,
Yep,
there in Minnesota. So lots of good hockey
absolutely,
there. But yeah, so
absolutely,
fun.
no question about that. I know the Rangers took a hard loss last season. How you think they're going to do this season?
It's it's going to be hard because to go that far and then to have to kind of start again with that like it's a long season, but
It,
I do think that my thought is often that when you look at a lot of the teams that do win the cup, oftentimes they've had a few kind of false starts or they've gotten really close and lost in the finals. And you really do have to be persistent and you have to like not kind of freak out and totally reshuffle the team
yeah,
like all the time. And I do think that they've been doing a good job of staying that course. So that said, this is kind of, I don't think the window is that particularly wide open for kind of the opportunity they have. And unfortunately, last year the Devils had a terrible season where everything went wrong for them. I don't expect
yeah,
that to happen again. It's going to be really hard to compete with the Devils like right there in the division. So
yeah.
it's last year. I really wish they had kind of pulled it out last year. But that said, they're good enough to make it to the playoffs and then like really they know what to do once they get there. They know what they need to do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously, I think the Islanders are going to have something to say about that.
Yeah.
The team over in Long Island. Obviously, the Panthers, the defending champs, would definitely say something about that as well. But the Rangers are right there. I mean, there's not too many teams I'm going to say in the East that are much better than what the Rangers are. And I'm hoping to go to a game in Madison Square Garden, watching them play and the Knicks play this season for sure. I'm working on it. That's for sure because I would love to see that.
It's so
Um,
fun, like the Rangers song, like it's. I get, I get so upset when people go to games and like they don't score, so these people don't get to hear the goal song. It's just so fun to be a part of it.
I love that, Katie. I do. Last of the favorites. Favorite restaurant that you like to eat at?
Um, Shout out Pianetta in downtown Truckee, California. Incredible
Mm,
Italian place. The best pesto lamb meatball pasta.
now
Everything's
you're
good.
talking. Now you're
Um,
talking. I like that.
yeah,
Okay.
everything's good. So
Okay. If I'm ever there, please, I have to hit you up to let me know about that place. Okay.
yeah, Pianetta, like so good. It's where I always go, like on my birthday and stuff.
No doubt. Okay. Now, I would love to talk to you about what you do on your day to day. As obviously as writers, we get stories all the time. No day is never the same. I know when I was working with a publication for in Atlanta and also here in Minnesota, I would cover games. I would write feature stories, edit photos, all this, that, and the third. But no day would never be the same. Let's talk to me about your day-to-day process. How do you come up with different stories to write? How long does it take you? Like, how long does your feature stories are? I know mine, obviously with my small publications that I was working at, they averaged anywhere from like 700 to almost 2,800 words, right? And that's the range of feature stories I would write. Talk to me about how your day-to-day is being at the Ringer, writing for sports.
Well, it totally varies in sort of every dimension that you've mentioned, including writing about sports, in that I write about, I'm a senior staff writer, and for and I kind of focus on quote features. And what that basically means is I write about everything: sports, also culture, TV, movies, sometimes random things where like the business world intersects with sports or culture, sometimes things that are like harder to categorize, and which is cool. The result is that the process is always different, and the other and a big part of the process is that I'm always, or I feel as though I'm always starting really like at square one,
Yeah.
and have had to sort of come to see that, like view that as like a positive that I can offer versus thinking that it's like a feeling like nervous or just like I don't deserve to be writing about something because I'm not an
Right.
expert on it going in. So that's always an
Right.
interesting part of it. So in terms of like the kind of if you take a story, for example, I recently went to Chicago Bears training camp and wrote about the team going into the season, and they have the number one draft pick, who's a quarterback, Caleb Williams.
Yep.
So, for a story like that, where I'm traveling, I go and, it's a little bit of like fake it till you make it when I get there, because most of the reporters there are Chicago Bears writers or
Right.
Chicago
They
sports
cover the team.
legends, or, and people that just know their SHIT in and out, and people who I view as like people that to me are part of the story, because they're part of the experience of being a fan of the Chicago Bears, is reading or knowing or listening to them. So I try to just sort of be a fly on the wall and, just figure out, a lot of it's like, what door do I go in? Like, which parking lot do I park at?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't print out the parking pass because I'm traveling, so I don't have a printer. Oh no, like, it's just all these little logistical things. Um,
Sure.
so that, but then it's really fun. And, and then the hard part is coming back and trying to synthesize so much stuff into a piece and wanting to include everything. And my pieces are long enough as it is, not always, but often, thousands of words, and wanting to include so much, but having to try to winnow it down. And so that's where the real, sort of torture, not torture, but just mental gymnastics really comes in at that point. And I just have tons of, I have a notebook that just, I'm working on a story right now. I mean, I just am a crazy kind of writer of notes and outlines
So
and
that's good. That's pretty good.
yeah, and I just like write down anything that comes into mind, and then I try to go through, cross things off as I get them into the story, and try to think of some themes I want to go use throughout, and where I want to put quotes. And so then it's like a jigsaw puzzle, of sorts.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that when I first started doing feature stories was trying to figure out what exactly do I need to put in, what's going to be the most relevant information, because you get so much information sometimes from your, from the person that you're talking to or people that you're talking to, your sources, right? So I think that was the hardest thing for me because it was like sometimes it was hard to decipher what was really ramble and then what was really something that I really needed to put into my piece. Um,
So,
let's talk about mental health and work life balance. You talked about it, traveling, you live in California, going to see Chicago, that's a cross country trip. No question about that. So, talk to me about your mental health and your work life balance because, as writers, we don't work business hour type of schedules. We work long hours and we are on tight deadlines to get things done. So talk to me about how you kept your mental health stable, but also your work life balance because you seem like a wonderful person to be around, Katie, as well.
well, I appreciate that. It is for sure like just such a work in progress, on that front,
Sure.
in the sense of, I'm a mom of two energetic boys, and
Mm.
and so a lot of times I end up working at super irregular hours, both for my ability to focus and have a quiet house, and then and then also just, it's hard to try to sit down at my desk as they're getting ready for school and to be like, I can't talk to you, or so that's just always like going to be a balance. And they're now old enough where they kind of like seem, when they were younger, they didn't know what it meant to be a writer. Now they'll see a football player on TV and I'm like, oh, I just wrote an article about him.
Right.
And they kind of like get it a little bit more, or they'll come and sit with me when I'm doing research, and they'll kind of like read along. And so, yeah, so that's, for me, I think a lot of it is just trying to like reframe my thinking from feeling like, I think one thing that's like been interesting about like the internet and and readers and everything is like, you start to anticipate what people might say, whether it's about you or not. Like, but even just, if I'm researching the Chicago Bears, for example, I'm probably
Sure.
reading a lot of Chicago Bears, comments and forums, and seeing them complain about, some, angle that all the reporters are using. And it's like, oh, well, here I am to write about Caleb Williams too. Oh, I'm so cliche, but it's like, well, that is the story of the team right now. So trying not to like preempt my own work, is something that I kind of always have to try to like put aside. Like, and I do find that I completely overrate that people are going to think that way when the work comes out. Like, I'll be nervous for the piece to come out, and then the actual reaction is people being excited because they can tell that I really like tried to immerse myself in the team, and here's what I came away with. And I try to kind of show my work a little bit to show that I come in peace, and I'm there in good faith, and I'm
Absolutely.
because I'm helicoptering in, so to speak. But people really just are excited when someone takes the time to like write something thorough and report it. And and expansive. And so that's always like kind of, it's funny how that continues to surprise me, even though it happens a lot. But it's something I've been getting a little better at, like remembering in the moment when I'm kind of staring at a document and thinking that it's, not quite what I want it to be.
No, I totally understand that. I mean, when we write pieces, there's no better feeling than, at least for me, for somebody to come up to me and say, I really love the piece that you wrote, whether I'm pumping gas in the gas station or I'm at a grocery store getting groceries. Obviously, our population here in Southwest Minnesota is about 12,000 people. So it's very small. So it's a tight knit community. And when we do write our stories, people love that. And I'm sure out there in Lake Tahoe and near where you at, people love the stories that you write, and they come to you and say the same things. This is a great segue to this next question, which is about what if someone, Katie, came up to you and said, "Hey, you know, I want to be a staff writer too. I would love to write about sports, whether it's a graduate or somebody that might be my age, because I'm in my 30s now, or somebody that might be just a little post college, right? What if they came up to you and said, I would love to be a sports writer and do what you do? What kind of advice would you give them?
I mean, like for me, it's hard because I don't, when I was that sort of the age of, let's see, how old was I? It was like, oh wait, 25 or so. Um, I started a Tumblr and it wasn't really about anything. It was just kind of whatever random stuff I saw, and I would put clips and I'd write little blurbs, or I would just put a picture and a caption or whatever. But I had like a consistent presence. And I think kind of crucially, at the time, like interacted on other people's work a lot too. And, was in the comment section and, or would share other people's work and link to it and that sort of thing. And I also happened to live in New York City at the time, and like, so there was I had, sort of the ability, which like not everyone has access to, of meeting a lot of fellow writers in person and like helping kind of just break in that way, I guess. But even before I met them, like I knew a lot of people online. I've always been like a very online person ever since I was like a teenager. And so, I think becoming part of a community is like a really good, whether it's Twitter or Substack or TikTok or like whatever it is, like whatever, or, the forums of your favorite board game. Like I'm such a fan of like micro forum life and culture. Like I always deeply have been on the internet.
Right.
And like, I think that's a more, you're going to have more traction, like going through a route like that. Or, whatever sport or team it is. That's like step one, is like becoming part of this like ecosystem in whatever way it means, because, like in a vacuum, otherwise it's like, okay, here's this person's like blog, but who are they? Like what, what's their point of view? And it's just one more way to like make it come through. I think like showing that you have just so any voice. It could be a nerdy analytical voice. It could be a freewheeling, I don't know anything about sports, I'm just gonna write about what I see on the screen visually voice. But whatever it is, like it's yours. And just developing that, and even if it's kind of low scale at first. And then in terms of like finding work, I mean, that's like the hard thing. Things are always disappearing and shrinking, and
That is the hard thing. You're right.
yeah. So, and people sometimes ask me, and I start to think myself of like places I would have said 5 years ago, like a lot of them aren't really around in the same way. But there are still like places that, Defector's a really cool business model, and I think they take freelance work, and that's also a place where you could really kind of engage in the comments and get, kind of known to the community. And yeah, and then other places, I mean, finding editors, knowing the place you're pitching to, and not submitting something that's like irrelevant to their content or their voice. Just being persistent, remembering that pitching is kind of a sales job, and the rule of thumb in a sales job is what, like for every 10 reach outs, you'll get one yes or whatever it is if you're lucky. So you
That
have
is
to
true.
kind of think in those terms to some extent, I think. I mean, that's probably true for any endeavor where you're trying to like place a thing or sell a thing or get a gig. But yeah, but it's hard. I mean, I I don't know if I could hack the pure freelance life of because just like I have so much respect for people that are so determined and persistent and also, then having to like ask for payment sometimes like that, which is not something that any freelancer should be having to haggle with after the fact, so
Absolutely.
but I don't say this to discourage people. I say this to like show that like I don't even know what the landscape looks like on a day-to-day basis all the time.
Right.
I think I think it always like helps to just be like, if someone were to come up to me, you can just tell the difference because people do ask me this. You can tell the difference between someone who just doesn't really read and doesn't care, and like I'm kind of like, well, what do you like to write about? What do you like to read? And then and someone that's really specifically does and really has a point of view, really has a thing that they find interesting, even if that thing is weird. And I know at the Ringer we really value people's thing that they are obsessed with that's weird as a generative way to find more things to write about or to write about that thing or to own that little corner of life. And we talk all the time about like really trying to dig into that.
I love that. I love that. On here with staff writer Katie Baker on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. Katie, we're going to take a short break. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to finish the second half of this. Okay, so give it about maybe 5-6 minutes, and we'll come back. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. All right, we are back here on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast with senior staff writer. Sorry, Katie Baker here from the Ringer. We were just talking about advice that she would give anyone that wants to be in the position of being a staff writer. It's great that you're on the Ringer and you're not just talking about sports, but you're also talking about different genres and different issues as culture, entertainment, and stuff that goes on. I have a friend of mine who works for the Ringer. I'm not sure if you know who he is. His name is Kalen Jones.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
Yeah.
you do. So you know Kalen.
Yeah. Is he? Yeah. I thought he was no longer, I thought he went to the History Channel, but I might be conflating him.
Well, he might have. He was formerly of the Ringer. That's for sure.
Yes.
He might have left there, but he definitely was a part of that company for sure. I think he did leave though. It was
Okay,
recently.
yeah, no, he's okay. So I'm thinking of, and he's great. Like, and yeah, I think when he first started at the Ringer, he was working on like our copy desk, which
Yep.
we're really lucky to have like this amazing fact checking and copy editing desk that is like, oh my gosh, it's like this incredible, important thing that we've always kind of invested in, and it's wonderful resource as a writer and as a company. Anyway, so I remember working with him when he would do fact checking and stuff like that, and just so thorough. And I remember not being surprised when I saw he was going to the History Channel podcast, and it's really, that's, I guess, in the sense of like advice, it's always fun to see that trajectory when people come in and start in that capacity and are really working so closely on like every story that goes out, even if you don't necessarily see it on the byline.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
hopefully learning from that process, and then being able to see what works and see how other writers operate, and then start writing articles of their own, and going from there, or editing, depending, or both, whichever.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And listen, the Ringer and the Athletic are two of the places that definitely has been on my radar for sure, because I want to be able to ascend as well and be able to go up. So that's definitely a couple places that I will have in mind for the future, to be able to see if there's any positions for me that will be suitable for me as well. I want to be able to get into this next thing though, and that's this or that. And that's an interactive game that I like to do with all my guests here on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I throw two things at you, and you choose this or that. Are you ready, Katie?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. So the first one here is going to be KFC or Popeyes.
Popeyes.
Now I know you and me can vibe. We are going very good. We've been vibing all conversation long, and girl, you picked the right choice. So I love that. Okay, here we go. We're gonna stay with chicken, but this time is chicken wing flavors: barbecue or lemon pepper.
Lemon pepper.
Okay. Do
I
you
would
like
go
your wing?
buffalo. Yeah, but if I'd go buffalo number one, but if between barbecue and lemon pepper, I'd go lemon pepper. Especially
See,
if it's like
Buffalo's
dry rub.
number three. Buffalo's number three for me. That's for
Okay.
sure. Yes. If it is not those two, I'm definitely choosing Buffalo for sure. Okay. I'm with you on that. So you like a little spice with
Yeah.
your wing. I like that. I like that. Okay. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
I until recently I would have said wet, and then I had like the best dry rub wings at this place in Florida, and it was like life changing. Like my husband and I still talk about it. Next time we're in that town, we're going back. So I've kind of like they were awesome. So that's like the best I've had recently. We're a good
Okay.
dry
I
rub.
love it. I love it. That's
But
what's up.
you know,
Now,
I love a good buffalo wing.
do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Um, it depends on if I'm being lazy or if I'm being messy. I've been known to order them both ways. It totally depends on you know, like where I am with whom, yada yada. I'd say
Okay.
honestly, it honestly is about 50-50 what I order, like how I do order.
Okay. Okay. So if you are in where you are right now in California and you're going out for some wings, which way are you going?
I would go to Blue Coyote in Truckee, and I would get the Truckee style, which I think is like half buffalo, half like teriyaki, or half some kind of like sweet chili. And I do like the boneless ones there. I prefer the boneless at that
Okay.
particular place, so I get
I
boneless.
like it.
But the
Okay.
dry rub ones, bone in.
Bone in. Okay. I like that. All right. So this next one here has to do with music concerts you'd rather attend. These next four. Okay. So here we go. Which concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Journey or Aerosmith?
Aerosmith.
Okay, you was pretty decisive on that one. I like that. Okay. Which concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Luke Combs or Luke Bryan?
Luke Bryan.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
That's
That
the
that's
fast. Who's the one that did the fast car with Tracy Chapman? Was that one of them?
yes, that was one of them.
I get
Yes.
them confused between those two, and then there's also Zach Bryant, who I really like, but they kind of for a while they were all kind of one mind meld for me.
Yeah, I just recently learned who Zach Bryan was. I had no idea who he was. I was
He
like,
did a
Zach
good
Bryan.
duet with Casey Musgrave that I've been listening to. So
I
none
definitely know
under
who
them.
Casey Musgraves is.
Yep.
Absolutely. I know who she is. No question. Okay, here we go. Which concert would you rather go to? Casey Musgraves or Carrie Underwood?
Casey Musgraves.
Okay, I like it. And which concert would you rather go see? Would you rather go see Lady A or Zach Brown Band?
Zach. I think Zach Brown Band.
You sure?
I'm not sure.
That one was hard, huh?
That was a hard one.
Okay. That's okay. That means there are pretty good questions. That's all that matters. Okay, here we go. Which sport would you rather watch on TV? Football or basketball?
Um, like a good football TV experience it's a good sport for TV viewing.
Okay. Which sport would you rather play? Badminton or bowling?
Oh man. Um, Badminton, I think.
Wow. Are you any good?
No, but I play a lot of tennis. So how hard could it be? Probably last last word said before someone crushes you at badminton.
I feel that.
Yeah, I'd rather be
Is
outside
bowling?
playing badminton, looks like you can set up that net just about anywhere.
That is true. Now, is bowling that bad?
No, I just I don't know. Sometimes there's a funny tweet that comes along where someone's like, oh, my company is doing like a bowling social, or like, oh, a first date. She asked if I wanted to go bowling. And then little do they know, and it shows a picture of their like custom shoes and bag and monogrammed ball. So I love seeing a good one of those go by, but I'm not a very good bowler, and I think I'd get sick of it.
That's okay. We know our limitations, Katie. We know our limitations, and that's all good in the neighborhood. Okay, here we go. Now, do you like desserts?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out four different categories of desserts. You get to choose which one of these you'll never eat again.
Okay.
Here we go. First one is ice cream. The second one is cake. The third one is cookies. The last one is candy. Which one are you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
Ice cream, cake, cookies, candy. Um, I would probably get rid of candy, because I feel
Oh,
like a cookie could satisfy the candy itch. I would need ice cream. I was gonna say cake, but I was thinking about I love a good strawberry shortcake type. I would be sad to lose that.
yeah, I'm with you on that one, Katie. I can't get rid of my red velvet cake. That's my favorite, red velvet. And cookies. I can't get rid of chocolate chip or my double stuffed Oreos
Yeah, or
and ice cream.
like a good gingerbread cookie at the holidays. That would be sad to lose.
Yeah, I'd be sad to lose, right? And I'm cookies and cream ice cream or chocolate chip cookie dough. So one of those two can't get rid of for sure. So yes, candy would be me as well.
So
Okay,
what candy would you be saddest to lose?
lifesaver gummies for sure.
Oh wow, that's a great answer that I never would have seen. I
Yeah,
never
lifesaver
no.
gummies for sure. I would definitely be sad to lose those. Second would be Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, any lifesaver gummy flavor, it doesn't matter which flavor it is, I'll be sad.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I would probably Twix would be, I would miss Twix, and I would miss uh those I don't know if they have Kinder Bueno. I don't know where those candies came from lately, but
Wow.
love those things.
I know
But
what you're talking about, but
I
wow,
feel like
yeah,
I could recreate that in cookie form.
right. That's crazy. I haven't seen those in a while, but I know what you're talking about.
They're around
Totally.
randomly. I don't know where they come from, but I appreciate them.
Okay. Now, do you like potato chips?
Yes.
Okay, same format. I'm gonna throw four brands out there. You gotta get rid of one of these brands you'll never eat again. And one of the brands is not Cheetos. Because we know Cheetos, we're not gonna do that. So here we go. First brand is Ruffles. The second brand is Lay's. The third brand is Doritos. The last brand is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
Goodbye Lay's. Too wispy. I'd rather, I can get that from a Ruffle or a Pringle. Um, Pringles are nice to have, they travel well. And
They do.
Doritos, I need my Doritos for sure.
Yeah, Doritos is probably number two for me. Ruffles is number one because they
Yeah.
have the greatest chip ever made, which is sour cream and cheddar. You can dip those in any kind of dip. My personal favorite dip is buffalo chicken dip. So anything like that, you can definitely dip those in. Lay's, they are a little bit too flimsy, but
Yeah,
they
one
just
of
go by
my
the
sons
wayside.
likes Lay's, and I try to eat them, and I'm always like, yeah.
Can't do it. I can't do it. And plus, I'm not a salt and vinegar type person. Now maybe you are, but I'm not. I don't like salt and vinegar chips.
I don't, it's not what I reach for. It's not, some of them can be good. Like if you get those kettle style,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
brands, but yeah, no, I like just a good Ruffle. I know the sour cream and cheddar are a good one. Yeah, and Doritos, I'm happy with just plain flavor. I mean, I'll go with some of the other ones from time to time, but classic Doritos,
Oh, you can't go
that's a
wrong.
good product.
You cannot go wrong. I'm a huge nacho cheese, Cool Ranch person, so you can't go wrong with either flavor for sure. Now, last two of the this or that. Mets or Yankees?
Mets. Mets. Come
Uh,
on, Mets. Gotta wait till
Wow.
Monday now for them to play the Braves.
Wow.
Are you an
Okay.
Atlanta fan from your time there, or?
I am. But I'm more of a Padres fan because I grew up in San Diego. But
Mhm.
definitely, being in Atlanta, I was there for a lot of years, and saw the World Series when they
Yeah.
won in 2021. I was in Atlanta when they won it. So yeah, that was crazy. No question about it. But I'm hoping my Padres can say a little something, something, because we can actually still win the division, still win the
Um,
West. So I'm
yeah.
hopefully we can do that. Okay. Last but not least, Knicks or Nets?
Knicks. I mean, Knicks forever. Knicks were the original team. I mean, I like the Rangers too, but like I kind of came of age of those 90s Knicks, and like all people my age, we won't stop talking about them, even though they never won anything.
Right, right.
So man, I feel like this past spring, first of all, it was so fun having the Knicks and Rangers. Um, it was like there was like a several week period where every night on alternating nights, one of the teams was playing, and my
Yep.
house was and it was springtime, and the days were getting longer, and my house just felt like a home, and it was so fun. And my cousins were texting me from New York, and and I was a bummer how it ended. And just with the Knicks, like I don't think people even, sometimes my friends and I make fun of when people are like, oh, Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, like, no one cares, like no one wins anything there. But if the Knicks were to go, to a conference finals or something like that, New York City would honestly be on a level that I don't think people like remember that it can be. And we saw little hints of it during the run they made, but like, they didn't even go that far. So it would just be
Absolutely.
ultimate.
One of my favorite teams that didn't win a championship, as along with you could say the 1990 and 92 Trailblazers. That was a pretty good teams, but you can definitely say that 94 Knicks team, without question, is one of the best teams to ever not win a championship, coached by Pat Riley.
Yeah,
Um,
and just like for Pat, oh man, I wanted Patrick Ewing to get a title so badly, and yeah.
no
John,
doubt, no
I
doubt.
was a huge John Starks fan as a kid, like, yeah, obsessed with John Starks, and so that was a rough one. And I think I was like, in fifth grade, and I remember just being so upset.
I totally understand that. I do. I want to ask you this question because I love asking writers this. If you wasn't a staff writer or a sports writer or any kind of writer in the communicative field, what career path would you have chosen and why?
Well, I guess I would go with the career path that I originally chose out of college, which was finance. Before I became a writer, I spent 7 years working in the financial industry in New York. Was there for a really crazy time, which was like kind of the rise and fall of the markets, like at the end of the aughts, like sort of the big short years.
Sure.
Um, and yeah, and I loved it was a crazy time, and I loved being there to see it, and just kind of seeing what, you know, some of the most connected people in the industry were thinking and doing and losing money on and making money on. So that was always really interesting to me. And I was really glad to make the career change, but I do sometimes sort of just find myself wondering, like, I wonder what they're talking about over there these days.
Sure. No, that's pretty dope. I like that. I think I would have chose theater for myself.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, I love that.
yeah, I love plays. I love musicals. So I definitely would have chose theater for sure because I just love to be somebody else. The idea of acting as somebody else or portraying another character has always been intriguing to me. I'm Chris every single day,
Yeah.
so to be able to be somebody else is pretty cool.
We should do some like local, some local community productions or something.
I was looking into that. I mean, out here, since it's so small and the resources is not as big, I probably wouldn't do it in this location. But my next location, when I go up to a different population or go to a bigger size state, I am looking into that because I would definitely love to do something along those lines for sure. Um, Give me a bucket list of events that you would like to cover. Like for me, I'll give you a top four. I want to cover a Super Bowl. I would love to cover a national championship football game. I also love to cover a national basketball championship, March Madness, and an NBA Finals. Those are probably my top four that I would love to do. With honorable mention being Stanley Cup Finals, that'd be great too. Give me a bucket list of events you would like to cover.
Such a good question. I loved covering the Olympic. I've covered one Olympics live. It was really cool. I'd love, it would be awesome to. That was
Oh
the
yeah,
Winter Olympics. It's hard because the Summer Olympics has so many events that I actually don't even. It would. It must be so hard to cover it. Winter was easier, but at any rate, love the Olympics. I always love a good international competition. I've never covered a Super Bowl. It would be really fun to do the whole Super Bowls, full Monty. I would love to do that. I I'm trying to think of, what I would love to cover. I did a Formula One story once, but and I went to Silverstone Racetrack, which was awesome, but it was in the off season and they were just doing training.
right.
So I saw the cars go by, which was honestly mind blowing. And I saw them, the experience was mind blowing, but I would love to go to a real Formula One day in the paddock with all the fancy global community, and the cars and the shiny things and the loud things. Like that would be really fun to do, in one of those like European, the Monaco or something. Um,
Absolutely, that'd be dope. I would love
what
that.
else? There's this event, and I actually haven't checked to see if it's happened in the last few years, because for a while it wasn't really happening at all because of like climate change. But there's this event in the Netherlands where under certain conditions, enough of the canals freeze that you can ice skate like,
Mm,
hundreds of miles, and they do this kind
okay.
of long distance race. That's apparently really cool but it only happens under like certain weather. And for a long time, I always really wanted to write about that. And I've sort of like lost touch with it because for so many years it wasn't happening. So yeah, stuff like that would be really fun to, like a World Cup. I
Oh
guess it's
yeah.
I guess it's coming to North America, so maybe that's my chance. But I'd love to do. I did a Women's World Cup in 2015 in Canada, which was such a cool experience, and the US won that. But I would love to do a Men's World Cup. That would be on the bucket list for sure.
Absolutely. And you said the Olympics. Obviously, Olympics coming to Los Angeles in 2028, which is again my hometown state. What an honor that would be if I could find my way to be able to cover that. That would be absolutely amazing. And then the World Cup too, which is going to be coming in what 2026, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah, I know,
Which is
which is
coming.
like that's gonna be so soon. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'll be a wild time. And then yeah, the Salt Lake City got like the 2034 Winter Olympics, which sounds really far away, but it's 10 years away. And that'll be, they've had an Olympics before. I think that'll be a great one. Yeah, I'm trying to think like it would also be fun to go. I've never gone to like an awards show or anything like that. It'd be fun to cover the the
I can see
Golden.
you doing that. I could definitely see you doing something along like that, like a Billboard or a Country Music Awards or
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Grammys.
Actually, I would love to go to my favorite award show is the Grammys. I love watching the Grammys every year. Um, and I feel like I learned so much from it. It's always like just got that little bit of like weirdness compared to like, the Oscars, because you're dealing with musicians and their particular brand of creativity. It would be so fun to go to the Grammys one year.
I can definitely see that. I really would love that. For you for sure. What is some advice that someone gave you that you hold on dearly to, Katie?
Um, one one kind of silly piece, or not silly, just small piece of advice that I use all the time, and I'm gonna butcher it because I don't remember the exact words, but I remember the idea of it, which was, um, and this doesn't work for all styles of writing, but anytime you're like listing, doing a list of things, like make one of the items on the list like different than all the rest, or funny, or a novelty, or just one word, or just something different. And it's
Okay.
such a dumb little piece of advice, but I swear it's probably my most used piece of advice. And you know, you can kind of extrapolate it to a bigger ideal in a piece, which is like find something that's a little different or a little unexpected, or that someone just, you know, might, a new fact. I think about that a lot. Uh, that's, man, that's like my favorite piece of advice. I guess like other ones are just not so much advice, but watching seasoned reporters at an event like the Olympics, and seeing the questions they ask of an athlete who might be standing there in front of them, and they might not really know who that athlete is. You know, it could just be someone that just surprised everyone and won a medal. And now suddenly you're interviewing them, um, and just seeing the calm way in which, for example, Bonnie Ford, who is such a, um, you know, a hero of mine, um, she would just say, "Oh, I like your necklace. Like, where'd you get it? Like, is that a gift, or is it meaningful?" And then suddenly the athlete starts talking about, you know, their grandmother, or you know, or their friend who passed away, or whatever it is, and how, or, you know, or they say, "Oh, this, you know, I got it at the 7-Eleven, bro." And, you know, and that's its own indication of just who this person is. And that was always really meaningful to me, to just watch kind of the best of the best, just ask a question that of a person, and not try to impress them with knowledge, or try to, you know, say something smart or whatever it is. And
Sure.
that I
Sure.
kind of carried that with me.
I love that. I do. And listen, if any time that you are obviously out here in Minneapolis covering a story, or if I'm near California, I would love to be able to shadow you, talk to you, say hello to you, have coffee with you, something. I would love to meet you because you seem like just a wonderful woman, again, to be around. An abundance of knowledge, of being able to write stories, but also passionate about what you do as well. So I would certainly love that if you're open to that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you, if I'm ever in Minnesota, and, you know, wherever you might end up, keep you posted. And if I'm there, or if you're here in Northern California, would love to get together sometime.
What I normally do when I come to the end of my conversations is I'll ask this question, which is the concluding question. Is there anything else you would like to add about yourself, Katie, before we conclude?
Um, I what would I like to add about myself? I guess I don't know. The like constant struggle that I have, or not struggle, but just like question that I'm after, is like, you know, how do you write something that is interesting to someone who's an expert, and also interesting and won't lose someone that's never heard of the person you're writing about? And how do you do that at the same time? And that's the eternal mystery of life, man. And so, you know, think on that. And if you come up with an answer, let me know. But till then, we'll be striving toward an impossible ideal. Over and out. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I would definitely be thinking about an answer for you. I don't know if I'll get one before you do, but I certainly will be thinking about an answer for that. But Katie Baker, I really do appreciate your time of coming on to my Work Hard, Play Harder podcast, talking to me about your journey, talking to me about your life, getting to know you a little bit. And hopefully we will keep in touch. You'll continue to do amazing work at The Ringer, and we will talk very, very soon.
Yes, likewise. Thanks so much for having me. Take care and happy trails.
Absolutely. Enjoy your Wednesday.
You too.